Hey folks, Fernando doing another video here for the Modern Survivalist, and in this case I'm going to be analyzing a video that this happened in Argentina a couple days ago. This guy was selling a PS3, a PlayStation 3 video game console, and he ended up putting it up for sale online. Here's the price: 40,000 Argentine pesos is what a PlayStation 3 apparently is going for with 27 games. So the thing is this guy was selling the console, and he was selling it online, and people that were interested in buying it showed up at his house. Now here's where you may wonder, why take such risks? Well, basically because people need the money, correct? That is usually the case. If not, if you ever have the chance, if you're selling anything that doesn't need to be powered up so as to demonstrate that it's actually working, best thing to do, always remember this, is meeting in places that are public, where there's lots of people around. Maybe a mall that it's usually with a good amount of people around, maybe the food court somewhere that is public and has a good amount of people, hopefully even security, maybe some mall guards or local police around. That's what you're gonna be doing in any case that you can. Now, I found myself in somewhat of a similar situation a while back while selling a video game console myself. These are cases in which you are taking these risks, even though you know it's always better if you don't. So what ends up happening is that this guy is selling it, and the buyer is going to be showing up to his house. But the buyer is actually a criminal, a burglar, and they're trying to mug him, rob him in his home. So this guy lives in a piece of land with two houses. There's a house where his parents live, and there's another one where he lives with his family. Both of these houses are inside the same gated land. All right, and this is very typical of Argentina, trying to have a perimeter. This is something I've always mentioned in my videos. The perimeter is key, but of course the proper use of the perimeter is key as well. Nothing that you do, no gun, no perimeter, no home security system is gonna be compensating for your lack of good common sense. Now, I'm not criticizing this guy. Fortunately, he's fine. His mother is fine as well. Everyone made it through, but he clearly made some judgment, some poor judgment here and there. And one of the first things you see is that you have a fence, but this fence is covered. Now, this is a bit of a pro and con on both possible cases. You can have a fence or a chain link fence which you can see through, or you can have something with blinders or with something covering it up and not letting it be seen through. So the advantage of a perimeter, a wall that you cannot see through, is that anyone on the outside cannot run security on you, like watch your movements, like do intelligence on their part. That's going to be a lot harder. Now, on the other hand, it's going to be more difficult for you because these guys can take cover behind it and you can be caught by surprise. Now, this to some extent can be compensated with an intercom, with a camera, but even with those, you can hide on the side and maybe not be as visible. Now, he has a camera system on the outside of the house pointing towards the street, and here's where you see two people. Now, this is a very important point to keep in mind. If you are taking this risk, if you are having some stranger in your house, which by all means it's never a good idea, but some cases, for whatever reason, maybe you're selling the place or whatever it is. So whenever that's the case, just have one person go inside. There's no reason, none whatsoever, for two people to visit the home when buying a video game console. It's gonna be just one guy instead of two. Yet he doesn't do that. He's not saying, hey, this is just one person that needs to come in. No, he opens up the gate and lets in these two people. And there's a vehicle here, at least with a third guy, with an accomplice. So he just lets them in. Big mistake. Shakes hands. Okay, yes, we're interested in buying your video game, your PS3. And they walk in. Look at what he does here as well. He turns his back and they have his back. They're walking towards his house, and he turns his back on them. Never. I mean, if it's just one guy that you're letting it in, you're not letting him have your back like that. You're always staying on his blind side, not the other way around. Now, this man, he has kids. He had instructed his kids to stay in the upper floor of the house, and he had instructed his mother that if anything should happen, contact the police or whatever, keep an eye on it, because he knew that this situation was dangerous. So he has a gun, not on his person. Another big mistake. He left it behind a cushion in the living room where he has the console. So that's another one you want to always remember. The gun should be on your person at all times, especially in a situation like this. There's no point in leaving it somewhere else where you're not going to be able to reach it in time, at least not if you're not lucky. Fortunately, he is lucky. He is able to reach. We don't have the images of the actual shooting, and what we have instead is his mother, checking it out. The mother approaches and sees through the window that he's being held at gunpoint. The mother has a gun herself, and she points with the gun through the window, and that's where an exchange of gunfire takes place. Fortunately, the mother is not hit, but there's a couple rounds that hit the window. He goes for his own gun. It seems like a 380, probably a Versa 380 pistol. He starts shooting with that, and they take off. And you see these two guys run away. She approaches it with her own gun, and this guy is waiting outside. And now you see these, this is some time goes by there, and one of the guys just jumps through the fence, right? Jumps away. Notice that the fence has spikes. These are a good addition. Now, he just jumped through it without any problem whatsoever. So you don't have to overestimate it, how much of an advantage it is. The guy just jumped through it like in a second, right? So he escapes, he runs away, goes. Now, this other one, he's wounded, and he gets shot again, right? He threatens the guy. He says he's going to be shooting. He asks the guy to open the fence, open the gate for him to run because he's wounded and he's not sure if he can jump away. He finally actually does that. You see it there. He uses the spikes as to hold on to them. Maybe something shorter with shorter spikes would have been more appropriate. These are sometimes good enough though, because there's been cases of burglars getting caught and actually even bleeding out on these. But he manages to jump and escape as well. He probably got a bit hurt there, but he managed to get away. And he's kind of, something else to keep in mind. This guy, we later learned that he shows up in a hospital and says he has been injured in the line of duty. That's right, the guy is an active duty police officer in the Buenos Aires police. That gives you just an idea of the level of corruption, of danger that you have in a country like Argentina, especially now where corruption is across the government, across every aspect of society, and it reflects in this as well. Police, an active duty cop, he has a side job as a criminal, as a burglar. So here's another mistake. This guy obviously has no training. That's quite clear. One other mistake he makes, he just goes outside for no reason whatsoever. All of this already ended. This is done. He just should call the police, wait until eventually they show up. Hopefully it's not the same guy that did try to rob him. But there's no point in him exposing himself like he's doing here. You see that? Why do that? No reason whatsoever. There's just no solid reason why you want to be doing that. Right, so someone else arrives home and that's that. But there's no point in being exposed like this. Best thing to do is whoever is out, and there you see the gun. Yeah, it seems to be like a little 380 pistol of some kind, nothing too big. Typical of someone that is really not that much of a, yes, a gun owner, but probably not someone that has trained. And you see that with some of the decisions he makes. Now, there's a bit more here where you see the house, typical, someone that's very much aware of the crime in Argentina, bars on windows. The door is probably reinforced as well. I see a sign of ADT. That's a private security company in Argentina. So the guy is very conscious about all of this stuff. Clearly, I can tell that. And his mother having a gun, himself having a gun. There's one of the shots hit through there, but he hasn't got the training so as to use that gun properly, and that could have cost him his life. That could have gotten him killed. Now they interview the guy, I'm super glad he did okay, but this is where he could have been killed. So he shows where the console is, the console he was trying to sell. He explains that he had his gun kept right there under that cushion. Right, that's where he kept his gun, and when the robbers had him at gunpoint, he threw himself on the couch, like submitting, like giving up. But that was where he kept his gun, and that's where once the mother created the distraction of bringing her own gun through the window without actually knowing much what she was going to be doing, but that's when he goes for his own gun and he starts firing. Fortunately, he made it alive, wasn't killed, mother as well, and the criminal, at least the cop that showed up to a hospital wounded, was arrested, at least for now. This happened in Florencio Varela, in the suburbs of Buenos Aires, and it's this stuff that happens every single day, all day long. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this little video. There's just little clues, little tips of how to handle all of these things properly. Some of you guys probably know some of this stuff. Some of you probably would have committed some of the mistakes that this guy did, yet fortunately enough survived. Have an awesome day, folks. Remember to subscribe to the channel. Remember, there's my books available following the links below if you're interested in all of this stuff, especially in terms of security, self-defense, home defense, that kind of stuff, especially addressed in my second book, Street Survival Skills. See you next time.